Hello everyone. Today we have Dr. Ankita Zawanjar, consultant plastic surgeon and founder of Sara Aesthetic Clinic with us. Ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank
Please
you.
give us brief description about.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Ankita Jawanjal, and I am a plastic, cosmetic, and hair transplant surgeon. I have my clinic in Chembur, Mumbai. It's called Sara Aesthetic Clinic. So basically, after doing my MBBS, I did my post graduation in general surgery, and then I did my super specialization in plastic surgery. And then I did my two fellowships. One was the Indian Fellowship in Aesthetic Surgery, which I did at SB Aesthetics Gurgaon. And I did my International Fellowship in Aesthetic Surgery at Argentina, and after that, I did observership in breast surgery at California Verve Clinic. So after doing everything, I decided that I don't want to work in a corporate setup. So I just want to have my own venture, and that's when I decided to set up.
Okay, that's great, madam. Just finishing after your fellowships and your degrees, you started your own thing is quite a bold move. Let me start with a few questions that many of the patients have. So we see a lot of social media advertises, reels, also on TV, television, that always consult a qualified or a board certified doctor
Right.
for your aesthetic treatments.
Sure.
So for a normal patient or for anybody for that matter, how do we know that who is a qualified or a non-qualified or a board certified person for our treatments?
So basically, this is a very vital step. All patients must know what is a qualified surgeon. Everyone will say that consult a qualified person for your aesthetic treatments. But who is actually a qualified person? So for that, you need to know the medical system in India. Basically, first degree which everyone gets is an MBBS or a basic graduation. After that, we do a post graduation, like I did in general surgery. If you're doing something which is related to medical fields, you will have an MD degree. Because I did in surgical related field, I got MS degree. So for dermatologists, for example, it is MBBS and MD dermatology or a DMB dermatology. For a surgeon like me, I did MBBS, then I did my post graduation MS general surgery, and then I did my super specialization, which is MCH or a DNB plastic surgery. So basically, only these two people are qualified to touch you as a person who is qualified to do aesthetic treatments. Any doctor can put hundreds of A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z degrees in front of their names, but that doesn't matter. Your basic qualification is what really matters. And if you go to any doctor, first degree which they will say is their broad specialty. Like a plastic surgeon will say, I am an MCH plastic surgeon or a DNB plastic surgeon. And a dermatologist will say, I am an MD dermatology or a DNB dermatology or a diploma. Earlier, there was a diploma course called DDV. So this is their basic degree, which is compulsory for all people who are dealing with aesthetic treatments. There is no degree called aesthetic physician or a cosmetologist which is recognized in India. Please note that. Okay, so after this, n number of degrees you can add in front of your name. They are just an added feather in the cap. Some people just add it to lure the patients, but this basic degree is what is required by most professionals.
Okay, that answers a lot of questions, ma'am. So you mean to say there is only two personals who can handle with your aesthetic treatment.
Right.
One is a dermatologist and the other is a plastic surgeon. True. Now let me take the discussion a little forward.
Okay.
There have been recently a lot of deaths after hair transplant in India.
Yeah.
So what is your take on that?
Okay, so first I will ask you a question and then I will answer this.
Okay, sure.
So, when I say about hair transplant, which is the first country which comes to your mind when we talk about hair transplant?
I guess Turkey.
So, Turkey is the most common, right? So, if Turkey is the most common place, where do you think maximum number of deaths after hair transplant should occur?
Ideally, if they are doing the maximum number of transplants, the maximum death should be in Turkey.
Right. So, but the answer is India. You will be shocked to know that maximum number of deaths post transplant have occurred in India and not in Turkey. And that too, these deaths have occurred usually in the early post operative period, like around third or fourth day after the transplant.
It's quite shocking.
Yeah.
So, what is the reason for it? Is it because of infections?
Infections is quite unlikely in this early period. It's most probably related to overdose of local anesthesia.
Okay. Local anesthesia, what is that?
Local anesthesia is basically when you are operating on a part of the body. For example, if you're doing a hair transplant. So I'm operating only on the head region, right? So I will give anesthesia locally only in that area, which has to be operated. So this area is numbed with the help of some drugs, but rest you are awake during the whole surgery. So that is called as local anesthesia.
Ma'am, if the patient is awake all the time
Yeah.
and the anesthesia is only on the local part where you're operating,
Yeah.
why should be there a death after
Oh, yeah.
transplant?
Yeah, so that's the catch. Actually, what happens is when these unqualified people they are doing these transplant, what they do is they keep on injecting the drugs which are required for the local anesthesia, and what they fail to realize is that the drugs will reach their peak level, say on the third day or on the fourth day. So what happens is basically patient is awake, they will go home, morning they come for surgery, evening they are discharged. These unqualified people, they think morning they have done the surgery, evening patient is going home, everything is good and fine. But what they fail to realize is that the drug will reach a peak level only on the third or the fourth day.
Oh. So basically, patients as well as the so-called hair transplant patient specialists who are doing all this,
Yeah,
every Tom, Dick, and Harry is doing the hair transplants in India.
yeah.
So when the patient goes home walking, so they feel everything has gone fine. But you are saying that most of the deaths have occurred on the second or the third day.
Yeah, and that's because of overdose, because of the overdose of these drugs. Everyone is happy in the initial period, but the consequences are faced later. So they have to be very meticulous with the amount of drug you are using, how much drug you are giving, which drug is to be given to which patient. So that is a very important consideration, and that is where our degree matters. So it is very important to choose a correct professional to do your hair transplant. Okay, so now that you have understood why these deaths occurs, let me ask you one question. When you go to buy any shirt or a t-shirt, what are the qualities you look for when you're buying a t-shirt?
Maybe the quality of the cloth,
Right.
the fit and finish, and also the cost.
Right. So, what do you think patients should look for when they are looking for a hair transplant of telling?
Maybe the quality and qualifications of the doctor, the
Right.
experience of the doctor.
But the surprising fact is, most of the patients who come for hair transplant, first thing they will do is they will call up my clinic. They will ask, Madam, what is the price for hair transplant? If XYZ clinic is charging so much, why are you charging so high? So that is basically they will just ask about the price and not ask about the other factors.
So basically, patients before even doing the consultation, they call up the clinic and this asks what is the cost of the treatment.
Yeah.
It is strange.
Yeah. So if you are choosing a shirt, you are looking at so many factors, the cloth, the quality, the material. Then when you are choosing a hair transplant clinic, why is cost the primary factor? You should look at all the factors, right?
Yes, ma'am, you're absolutely right. But I'd like to ask you a question. For any person who is pursuing or wants to be undergoing the treatment of hair transplant, what are the factors that he should consider while considering hair transplant, defining the clinic where he wants to go and the doctor he wants to get operated?
See, number one, what I will say is you must look at the qualifications of the person who is doing your hair transplant. Only a plastic surgeon or a dermatologist is qualified enough to do your hair transplant surgery, right? Second, I will consider is the experience of the doctor. You can ask them to show their previous patients before after photographs, right? And third thing I would say is the doctor discussing the complications with you. See, if a doctor is performing thousands and thousands of transplant surgeries, there are bound to be complications. If any doctor says I have zero complications, that means that doctor has not performed enough surgeries, right? So what you have to see is what were the complications and how well, safe and effectively these complications were handled by that doctor. So that matters the most. The important factor which patients should consider while choosing a clinic is how well equipped the center is to handle any emergencies. So these are two, three things which I think you should always look for in a hair transplant theory.
Okay. So, can you tell us more about the red flags before choosing a hair transplant clinic?
Definitely. So one would be the qualification of the doctor. If you are a patient, please don't be afraid to ask the qualification of a doctor. If the doctor is genuine, he will be more than happy to answer your queries. And if you ask them about their qualifications and the doctor is able to answer it, he knows that you are a well informed person. You have done your research. So they will not shy away from telling you their qualification. Second thing is if someone is very pushy, right? And they are telling you, okay, we will do this low cost surgery. They are giving you very unrealistic prices, which are extremely low, and it is not possible. then that could be another red flag. Third thing is, who is going to do your surgery? Is it the doctor or the technician? Who is going to do what, right? That is a very important step. And last, most important thing I would say is in terms of like, if you see the pricing, suppose you have some heart condition, right? So I always need to have some anesthetist as a backup for your surgery. So this will obviously add to the price. So this is what needs to be taken into consideration when you are choosing a hair transplant clinic.
Okay. One more question, ma'am. I've heard from my friends that only the technicians they do a hair transplant at clinics and doctors are seeing other patients. So is that true?
See, what I would say is definitely hair transplant is not a single doctor's job. It is a team effort, but there are some mandatory steps which have to be followed. For example, number one is designing your hairline. It should look natural. So, a doctor plays a very important role and his experience. Second most important thing I would say is harvesting of the grafts. That has to be done by the doctor. That can't be done by the technicians. And third most important thing is slit making or where you want to place those grafts, right? So that has to be done by the doctor. Nobody else can do it. What happens is in some of the red flag clinics, these hair transplant technicians, they do the entire procedure. They will be with you for the first, say, 10 days or 12 days after the surgery. And after that, you are just left to fend for yourself. So that should not happen. If a good clinic, in a good clinic, if a doctor is very well versed with doing a hair transplant, they know that the patient needs hand holding for at least 6 months after hair transplant surgery. So that is a very important factor.
Okay. That answers a lot of questions, ma'am. One word you mentioned, hairline design.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate more on that? I've never heard that term.
Yeah. So if you look someone eye to eye, right? If I look at you, what I feel is natural or appeasing to my eyes is how natural your hairline is.
Right.
If there is some mismatch or if it's not designed properly, I can straight away make out that there is something abnormal or something unnatural about your hairline. So designing a hairline is a very critical part of a hair transplant, right? When you look at someone's hairline, there is a frontal peak point, which is mid frontal point over here, and there are two peaks in males, especially, which are over here. When we transition from this frontal point to the temporal peaks, there is a gradual tilt upwards, right? You cannot have the entire hairline in a straight line. That will look quite fake and artificial, right? So there has to be a gradual transition. If you look at the hair follicles, if the beginning or the starting hair follicles, they are very soft and natural looking, so they have to be single hair grafts. You cannot put 2 or 3 follicle grafts in the starting. They will look very unnatural, right? So transition of the hairline, how you place the grafts, they are very important in designing a hairline.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering a lot of questions and queries that I and even many of the patients and our viewers would be having. You have made quite a few points clear in your discussion with us. So I think a complete consultation at your clinic would be the best thing before taking a hair transplant. When should I visit you, ma'am?
Your hairline is quite good. You don't need anything.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I would take that as a compliment. Viewers, that is the end of the podcast. Thank you for watching with us. And if you like the podcast, please subscribe to the channel and thank you everyone for joining us for the podcast today. For future related updates regarding aesthetic treatment, please follow us at Sar Aesthetic Clinic. And for any hair consultation, please visit your nearest plastic surgeon or a dermatologist, not a cosmetologist.